In the modern digital age, entertainment is omnipresent. From the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed, we are bombarded with a constant stream of content designed to capture our attention. Whether it's through social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, or through traditional media like television and movies, the entertainment industry has become a pervasive force in our lives. While this constant influx of content can be enjoyable and even addictive, it often leaves people feeling miserable about their own lives. This phenomenon is not accidental. It is the result of carefully crafted psychological strategies employed by media companies to keep us engaged, often at the expense of our mental well-being. Let's explore the psychological mechanisms behind why we are being bombarded with entertainment on media and social media, and how this bombardment contributes to feelings of misery and dissatisfaction with our lives. We will examine the role of algorithms, the impact of social comparison, the exploitation of our cognitive biases, and the ways in which media consumption affects our self-esteem, mental health, and overall life satisfaction. By understanding these psychological processes, we can begin to take steps to mitigate their negative effects and regain control over our media consumption. The role of algorithms in media consumption. In the digital age, attention is the most valuable currency. Media companies and social media platforms are in a constant battle to capture and retain our attention. The more time we spend on their platforms, the more data they can collect about our preferences, behaviors, and interests. This data is then used to refine their algorithms, which are designed to keep us engaged for as long as possible. The attention economy is driven by the principle that the more attention a platform can capture, the more advertising revenue it can generate. As a result, media companies have a vested interest in creating content that is highly engaging, often at the expense of quality or meaningfulness. This has led to the proliferation of clickbait headlines, sensationalist news stories, and addictive entertainment content that is designed to trigger emotional responses and keep us coming back for more. The algorithmic feedback loop play a crucial role in shaping our media consumption habits. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok use sophisticated algorithms to curate our feeds based on our past behavior. These algorithms are designed to maximize engagement by showing us content that is most likely to capture our attention and keep us scrolling. The problem with this algorithmic feedback loop is that it creates a self-reinforcing cycle of consumption. The more we engage with certain types of content, the more the algorithm learns about our preferences, and the more it shows us similar content. Over time, this can lead to a narrowing of our media diet, as we are increasingly exposed to content that reinforces our existing beliefs, interests, and biases. This narrowing of our media consumption can have a detrimental effect on our mental health. When we are constantly exposed to content that is designed to trigger emotional responses, such as outrage, fear, or envy, it can lead to a distorted view of reality. We may begin to believe that the world is more dangerous, more polarized, or more glamorous than it actually is, which can contribute to feelings of anxiety, dissatisfaction, and misery. The dopamine effect. One of the key psychological mechanisms that algorithms exploit is the dopamine effect. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a central role in the brain's reward system. It is released in response to pleasurable activities such as eating, exercising, or engaging in social interactions. Dopamine creates a sense of pleasure and satisfaction, which reinforces the behavior that triggered its release. Social media platforms and entertainment companies have learned to exploit the dopamine effect by creating content that is designed to trigger a dopamine release. For example, receiving likes, comments, or shares on a social media post can trigger a dopamine response, which reinforces the behavior of posting and checking social media. Similarly, binge watching a TV show or scrolling through a never-ending feed of entertaining content can create a sense of pleasure and satisfaction, which keeps us coming back for more. The problem with this dopamine-driven cycle of consumption is that it can lead to addiction. Just as with drugs or alcohol, the more we engage in activities that trigger dopamine release, the more we crave them. Over time, we may find ourselves spending more and more time on social media or consuming entertainment, even when it no longer brings us pleasure or satisfaction. This can lead to feelings of emptiness, dissatisfaction, and misery, as we become trapped in a cycle of consumption that is difficult to break. The impact of social comparison. One of the most significant psychological effects of social media and entertainment is the impact of social comparison. Social comparison is the process by which we evaluate our own worth, abilities, and achievements by comparing ourselves to others. In the context of social media, this often involves comparing our own lives to the carefully curated and often idealized versions of life that others present online. Social media platforms are filled with images and stories of people living seemingly perfect lives. From glamorous vacations and luxurious homes to perfect relationships and successful careers, social media creates an illusion of perfection that can be difficult to resist. When we compare our own lives to these idealized images, it is easy to feel inadequate, insecure, and dissatisfied. The problem with social comparison on social media is that it is often based on a distorted view of reality. People tend to share the highlights of their lives while omitting the struggles, challenges, and imperfections. This creates a skewed perception of reality, where everyone else's life seems better, more exciting, and more fulfilling than our own. Over time, this can lead to feelings of envy, jealousy, and low self-esteem, as we begin to believe that we are not measuring up to the standards set by others. The fear of missing out. Another psychological effect of social media and entertainment is the fear of missing out, or FOMO. FOMO is the anxiety that arises from the belief that others are having more fun, experiencing more exciting events, or living more fulfilling lives than we are. This fear is often fueled by social media, where we are constantly exposed to images and stories of people enjoying themselves, attending events, or achieving success. FOMO can lead to a compulsive need to check social media as we seek to stay connected and up to date with what others are doing. This can create a sense of urgency and anxiety as we worry that we might miss out on something important or exciting. Over time, this can lead to feelings of stress, dissatisfaction, and misery as we become increasingly preoccupied with what others are doing, rather than focusing on our own lives and experiences. The impact on self-esteem. The constant exposure to idealized images and stories on social media can have a significant impact on our self-esteem. When we compare ourselves to others and feel that we are not measuring up, it can lead to feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, and low self-worth. This is particularly true for young people who are more vulnerable to the effects of social comparison and who may be more likely to base their self-worth on external validation, such as likes, comments, and followers. Research has shown that excessive use of social media is associated with lower self-esteem, particularly among adolescents and young adults. This is because social media creates a constant pressure to present a perfect image of oneself, which can be exhausting and demoralizing. When we fail to live up to these unrealistic standards, it can lead to feelings of shame, guilt, and self-doubt. Over time, the impact of social comparison and FOMO on our self-esteem can contribute to feelings of misery and dissatisfaction with our lives. We may begin to believe that we are not good enough, that we are missing out on life, or that we are not living up to the expectations of others. This can lead to a negative spiral of self-criticism and self-doubt, which can be difficult to break. The exploitation of cognitive biases. One of the key cognitive biases that media companies and social media platforms exploit is confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms our pre-existing beliefs and attitudes. This bias is particularly strong in the context of social media, where algorithms are designed to show us content that aligns with our interests, beliefs, and preferences. The problem with confirmation bias is that it can lead to a distorted view of reality. When we are constantly exposed to content that confirms our existing beliefs, we may become more entrenched in those beliefs, even if they are based on misinformation or falsehoods. This can lead to polarization, as we become less willing to consider alternative perspectives or engage in constructive dialogue with others.